The world's leaders, minus the U.S., are in Brazil at this hour, part of what is being called COP30, or the United Nations Climate Summit. The Trump administration declined to send a delegation, but hundreds of American activists are there pushing for stronger climate action. Summit coming as there is a new memo from Bill Gates that is sparking controversy. Gates writing the world should balance fighting climate change while at the same time tackling poverty. Our business and tech correspondent Mara Barrett joins us live now, and she has more on the summit and what is at stake with this summit, and how does the United States balance global climate change and also not being there?
Well, there's a really key message being sent by the United States, China, and India not being present at this pre-summit leadership meeting that a bulk of world leaders typically do attend. I think it's important to note that the United States, China, and India, all put together, are the world's highest emitting countries. They're the ones causing the most issues when it comes to climate change. And so it definitely sends a message, and that's what climate advocates are criticizing, saying if the countries that are most responsible for these climate effects aren't here and aren't willing to have conversations about what we need to do to fix it, how seriously should we be taking it? And so in their wake, especially when it comes to the United States, there are hundreds of activists on the ground from Greenpeace, from the Center for Biological Diversity, from a bunch of different climate groups that are saying that their presence is needed there this week because their leadership is not, but they say that that's not what the United States stands for. I was emailing with one of their justice leaders with the Center of Biological Diversity, and she explicitly wrote to me that they feel like they need to be there so that international leaders aren't, quote, bullied or feel bullied by Trump to kind of derail the progress that has been made over the last several years when it comes to different negotiations. And she went on to say that she expects to see thousands of people marching in the street, collectively enjoy. They want that beautiful energy to be impossible for world leaders to ignore. And I think that's especially notable given that Belem, Brazil, is where it's being held right now. This is one of the first times in the past several years where protest is something that is legal in the country where this summit is being held. And so we expect to see a big turnout from activists all across the world on that note. And so there's a lot of financial conversations to be had. And again, the summit officially kicks off next week, and there will be some lower level officials we know from China coming, still TBD on what we might see from the United States in that sense, but it is really telling that they're not here for the specific, they're not there, excuse me, for the specific world leaders summit that's happening right now.
Mara, take us back to that Bill Gates memo. He is arguing for what he calls a strategic pivot. How could that affect the conversation among world leaders?
Well, when you have, from the public administration side, right, the government side of the U.S., sending this message, and then Bill Gates, someone who's been very involved on the private side in investing in clean energy and climate solutions, he released a memo last week ahead of the summit getting underway, and it sparked a lot of controversy because in the memo, he basically said that he wants to see strategy pivot from focusing on climate to focusing instead on human suffering and the welfare issue that is a struggle for countries that are in poverty. And this really angered a lot of climate scientists because they said that there needs to be action on all of it. It needs to be happening in tandem, that climate change isn't something at the end of a list that needs to be tackled. I want you to hear from the chief climate scientist for the Nature Conservancy, who spoke very passionately about this.
That mental model is fundamentally flawed because climate change is not a separate bucket. The only reason we care about climate change is because it affects everything else we already care about. Our health, our welfare, our well-being, poverty, hunger, disease, and the economy, national security, you name it. So climate is rather the whole in every other bucket.
And so other climate scientists have gone on to say that it's not a resource issue when it comes to where money needs to go to tackle climate change. It's more of a policy issue. And that is what a lot of world leaders, a lot of the conversations and negotiations that will be happening over the next 10 or so days will be focusing on in terms of how they can implement different policy to ultimately tackle the issue of rising global temperatures, Del.
Scripps News business and tech correspondent Mara Barrett, live for us from Denver. Mara, thank you very much.